My youngest son, 7-year-old Jeremy Fuller, playfully grabbed a snake. When he refused to let go, the snake bit him. At that time, my husband was on a business trip, and my eldest son, Benedict Fuller, was on the night shift at the hospital. Without hesitation, I called a taxi and took Jeremy to the hospital where Benedict was for emergency treatment. There, a pretty nurse ran over to ask about Jeremy's condition. Then, she brought him a hospital bed and took him to the emergency room. I choked up as I explained what happened and begged her to save my son. She was talking to someone while staring at the machine. Just before Jeremy was pushed into the emergency room, she stopped. Feeling confused, I asked her if there was any problem. The nurse's eyes stared darkly at Jeremy. "Do you know Benedict Fuller?" I nodded. "Of course. He is my..." Before I could say, "Son," the nurse slapped me. "What on earth is going on?" I touched my swollen cheek and looked up at her. The nurse glared at me arrogantly and snapped, "Don't you know who I am? I've been in a relationship with Benedict for a year. We have a good relationship and we plan to get married." I looked at her carefully again, and now realized that I had indeed seen her on Benedict's social media. She was his girlfriend, Yvonne Sinclair. I reached out to hold her hand. This wasn't the best situation for us to meet, but I still tried to introduce myself. "I'm Benedict's." Before I could say, "Mother," Yvonne slapped me again. This time, she didn't hold back. My cheek burned with pain. "You old witch. Do you think you can steal my boyfriend just because you're pretty?" She kicked me in the stomach. The pain was so intense that I could hardly stand. Then, she glared at Jeremy lying on the bed. "Is this your illegitimate child with him, behind his back?" Jeremy and Benedict look very similar. Both brothers inherited their father's looks. I wanted to explain to Yvonne, but she didn't give me a chance. She contemptuously looked at Jeremy's pale face, and slowly said, "We have other patients, who need urgent care now. You'll have to wait." Then, she left, taking the other nurses with her. My mind was buzzing, but I knew Jeremy couldn't wait. Awkwardly, I took out my phone to call Benedict. However, all I heard was the busy tone. Benedict didn't answer the phone. Jeremy's face was now turning gray. I was extremely anxious because I couldn't get in touch with Benedict. I couldn't help cursing under my breath. Unfortunately, Yvonne wasn't far away at that time. She heard me and thought I was cursing at her. She turned around, strode over. With a scowl on her face, she grabbed my hair. "Who are you calling?" "There's a car accident victim, who needs emergency surgery. Benedict is still in the operating room. Do you think he'll help you if you call him?" She took out the necklace hanging around her neck, and dangled it in front of me. There was a ruby pendant that I was very familiar with. Benedict gave this to me as a symbol of his love for me. He's going to marry me. He won't care about you just because you had an illegitimate child with him. I have to let you know that our relationship is stable. She pushed me to the ground, tore my shirt, and exposed the ruby pendant hanging around my neck. Yvonne's pupils constricted. Her anger intensified. "How did you get this ruby?" "This is a family heirloom." The ruby pendant is a family heirloom of ours. There are 2 such pendants. I gave one to Benedict for him to give to his significant other. Jeremy will get the other one when he grows up. Meanwhile, I'm keeping it for him. Apparently, Yvonne misunderstood. She hysterically snatched the necklace from my neck. "You're a liar, Benedict Fuller. You told me you only love me. How could you have an affair with this old woman behind my back? I hate you. I hate you. My heart hurts, but I still can't stop loving you," she said to herself crazily. Then, her eyes darkened. "If they die, then nothing can stop us. Yes. That's it." She took out her phone and made a call. After a while, I heard her say, "Francis, you must help me protect my relationship." I didn't have time to watch her lose her mind. Crawling to Jeremy's bedside, I anxiously watched as his complexion worsened. "Please, save my son," I pleaded. "He was bitten by a poisonous snake. If you don't help him, he'll die." The other nurses also tried to talk to Yvonne. "Come on. If this child dies, it'll cause a big problem. Let's send him to the emergency room first." Yvonne sneered and gave the other nurses a sharp look. "Are you sure you want to side with this homewrecker? Don't forget, Benedict's father is the CEO of this hospital. Once I marry him, I'll be the one to decide whether you get promoted or not." Hearing this, the other nurses looked at each other and then walked away, pretending to be busy with other things. "Yvonne, please let my son enter the emergency room. He'll die," I pleaded. Yvonne's expression was cold and her eyes were filled with malice. "The problem is here. I want him to die. This is the only way to keep him from standing between me and Benedict after we get married. I don't want this illegitimate child to come between us. I don't want to be a stepmother." "My son isn't Benedict's illegitimate child," I hurriedly explained. "He's his younger brother." Yvonne kicked me in the chest. "How can you say this illegitimate child is my boyfriend's younger brother, when you keep saying he's your son? This is ridiculous. Are you trying to tell me that you're Benedict's mother?" I nodded immediately. "Yes. I'm Benedict's mother. His biological mother." A trace of confusion flashed across Yvonne's face. She stared at me intently. Just then, the hospital door suddenly opened. A group of people rushed in, brandishing sticks. The blonde man leading shouted, "Who the hell wants to steal my sister's boyfriend?" I knelt on the ground, my cheeks swollen and my clothes in disarray. Yvonne stood in front of me, with an ugly expression on her face. "It's her, Francis," she said. "She's telling me now that she's Benedict's mother." Francis Sinclair scoffed. He sized me up, and said contemptuously, "If she's the CEO's wife, then I'm the CEO. She's just trying to scare you, Yvonne." Yvonne's confusion vanished. "Thank goodness you're here, Francis. Otherwise, I might have been deceived by this homewrecker." She came up to me, and slapped me several times in a row. My ears were ringing, but I didn't dare to dodge. "Please, save my son. Save my son. I beg you," I kept pleading. Suddenly, a cruel look flashed in Yvonne's eyes. "Actually, I can save him if you take off your clothes and slap yourself. You must say in front of the camera that you're a slut and a homewrecker and apologize to me. Say you shouldn't have interfered in my relationship with Benedict." I was shocked by this unreasonable request. Yvonne impatiently pushed me. She grabbed Jeremy's hair and pushed his pale face in front of me. I felt completely desperate. Francis' burly henchmen stood around me. They laughed at me, their eyes wandering over my chest. I clutched my collar tightly and shook my head, tears streaming down. Yvonne sneered, "I'm not in a hurry. I'm just not sure if this little bastard has time to wait for you to take off your clothes." My tears flowed even faster. Benedict had told me about Yvonne before. He told me she was kind. Looking at this vicious woman in front of me, I couldn't help but shudder. The people around were still laughing at me. "Take off your clothes. You're already an adulterous slut. What's there to be embarrassed about?" they jeered. "I see the bulge under your shirt. What are you hiding under your shirt? Take it off, and let us see." Yvonne took out her phone and started recording. "Snake venom takes about an hour to be fatal. Think for yourself. How much time do you have left?" I had no choice. I had to do this for Jeremy. Closing my eyes tightly, I quickly took off my shirt. Francis whistled. "You have to admit, Yvonne, this bitch has a nice figure. I grew up in a strict family, got married and had children according to the norms, so I have never been humiliated like this before." I bit my lower lip until it bled. "Will you save my son now?" Yvonne was still not satisfied. She moved the camera, filming me from head to toe. I turned my head, but she grabbed my chin, and forced me to look at the camera. "Why are you in such a hurry? That's just your shirt. Take off your bra too. Also, didn't you hear what I said? I said, take off your clothes, and tell the camera that you're a slut and a homewrecker." Francis laughed at me. "Yes. Take off your bra. Hurry up." Yvonne jeered, "You don't want to do this. Then let's let this bastard." Afraid that she would do as she threatened, I hurriedly interrupted her, "I'll do it." Trembling, I reached out and unhooked the clasp of my bra. Yvonne stared greedily at me, and I looked at the camera and said slowly, "I'm a homewrecker. I'm a slut. Please save my son." Yvonne slapped me hard, and my head turned sharply to one side. "Who let you add that last sentence? I just want you to admit your crime, nothing else. He's really not an illegitimate child," I pleaded. "He's Benedict's younger brother. Please save him. As long as you save him, I won't hold any grudges against you." Yvonne laughed mockingly, crossing her arms. "You won't hold any grudges against me? What qualifications do you have to hold any grudges against me? Don't delude yourself." She grabbed my hair again and slammed my head against the wall. Still seemingly not satisfied, she shouted to the people behind her, "What are you waiting for? Take out your phones and film this." Around me, flashes went off from all directions. I had nowhere to hide. While I was panicking and trying to escape, I bumped into Jeremy's bed. Instinctively, I reached out and grabbed his hand to steady myself. Wait a minute. My heart sank. Why was Jeremy's hand so cold? I had a bad premonition. I kept telling myself that it couldn't be, but I still reached out to his nose. Jeremy wasn't breathing. How could he not be breathing? I frantically shook Jeremy's body, but no matter what I did, he remained limp. Jeremy was dead. Realizing this, I was filled with anger. I endured all of Yvonne's humiliation just to get Jeremy into the emergency room, but now he was dead. I had no reason to continue enduring this. I slowly stood up from the bed, and stared at Yvonne with hatred-filled eyes. This woman killed my son. Yvonne took a few steps back. What do you want to do?"